One of the things I was talking about last week was an office I had, I think I mentioned it, an office I had at the side of the Tinsley Canal. Now from that I could watch them build the Tinsley Viaduct. Several things happened while I was in that office. There will be interest to this, but the one that I want to bring up this time is the volume of natural life that there was around the canal. A lot of raptors, certainly kestrels, and I believe at least one buzzard flew off the towers. They used to spot prey from up there and then come down to the canal to catch it. And we could watch them from my office. I certainly knew that the kestrels did, because I had a dump outside where there was a pile of sand, and we had rabbits burrowing in it, and they used to come down for the rabbits. And we saw them hunting on the other side of the canal as well. So that was one part of it, but all that stretch that I was aware of, and I was only really aware of maybe a mile length of it, there was an awful lot of wildlife there. You'd occasionally get people coming down to fish, and it wasn't at one time, even though it was very badly polluted, it wasn't a bad fishing spot. I remember watching two lads across the canal from me catching 3 or 4 fish within a sort of 10 minutes. Now, what they were, I don't know, and they weren't very big, but and that was in the early 70s. It must have been in the early 70s. As I say, there was a lot of wildlife. Some of it, roosting under the viaduct. You could see them in the framework. There are other places that they used to collect as well, particularly on the banks of the railway, which was the opposite side of our site. So we got the canal running down one side. Across the top was the railway, and across the bottom end was the Rotherham to Sheffield main road, and beyond that there was the viaduct. And as I say, I could watch them build the viaduct. I'm an engineer, and I was watching them build that viaduct and getting it wrong. I was told that the designers had said you must build it, from the ground upwards, because if you try to run your cranes along it, then you will overload it. That's exactly what they did, and you could see it sagging, and it was sagging maybe 15 degrees. It was quite spectacular, and why the cranes didn't run off the end, I don't know, because it was getting very steep. But then the bridge was completed, and within a few years they had to completely repair it the whole length because they'd overstressed it. And of course, as the traffic volume increased, so the stresses increased. So that's one part of it. Now, another part, you asked me about personalities and what it was like to work down there. Now, the area that I worked in, the main area, was producing railway track work, crossings points, various joints, and that factory was almost completely separated from a light engineering works at the other end, and a medium engineering works in between, and an open yard where the track work was laid out. One of the things that happened, and an awful lot of people can tell similar stories, was that when apprentices came on the shop, or any stranger came onto the shop and started work there, usually the first job that they had to do was to go for a long stand. Obviously what it is, but we did have stands that were quite long. And of course they were just left there until they realised what was going on. And the other one was go and find Jim Crow. Now Jim Crow is a bending piece of equipment that was made to bend the rails. And of course they'd have to go and get Jim Crow, and it must have weighed about a ton. And the poor lad would have to try to move this thing. So that's just a couple of them.